My name is Grace. For 23 years, I worked as a maid in their Adeyemi mansion. People thought I only cleaned the house. They had no idea. I also raised the little boy who lived there. His mother died when he was only 3 years old. He cried every night. His father buried himself in work, board meetings, business trips, endless phone calls. So every night I became the one who held him until he fell asleep. I fed him, read him bedtime stories, walked him to school, celebrated every birthday. He never called me maid. He called me Mama Grace. Years passed, the little boy became a brilliant young man. Then he left Nigeria to study overseas. Before leaving, he hugged me and whispered, I'll make you proud. The house became painfully quiet. I missed him every single day. 5 years after Daniel left for London, Mr. Adeyemi remarried. Her name was Vanessa. Young, elegant, beautiful, but cold. For the first day she entered the mansion, she made one thing clear. She didn't like me. She hated that every staff member respected me. Even Mr. Adeyemi trusted me with everything. To her, I was just a servant who had become too comfortable. She slowly began replacing old staff with people she hired herself. One after another, familiar faces disappeared. Only I remained. One afternoon, she smiled at me and said, Grace, you are getting old. Maybe it's time you finally rest. I knew it wasn't concern. It was a warning. I stayed because of one promise. The day Daniel left for England, he hugged me and said, Don't leave until I come. Oh. I promised him I wouldn't. Months later, the mansion buzzed with excitement. Daniel was finally coming home after 5 years. The entire family prepared a grand welcome. I cooked every one of his favorite meals myself. Jollof rice, fried plantains, pepper turkey, the coconut cake he loved so much as a little boy. And for the first time in years, I couldn't stop smiling. I ironed my best dress, nothing expensive, just a simple blue Ankara dress. I wanted him to see that Mama Grace was still waiting. That morning, before Daniel's plane even landed, Vanessa walked into the kitchen. She folded her arms, then dropped an envelope on the table. You are fired. I looked at her, certain she had made a mistake. She smiled. Daniel is a billionaire now. He doesn't need an old maid embarrassing his family. Leave before he arrives. My hands shook as I packed 23 years of memories into one small box. A faded family photograph, Daniel's first drawing, a tiny toy car he had begged me to keep safe until he came home. I walked slowly toward the mansion gate. Every step felt heavier than the last one. I stopped, looked back one final time and whispered, Welcome home, my son. I'm sorry I couldn't keep my promise. Just as the gate closed behind me, a convoy of black SUVs turned into the driveway. Daniel had arrived, but I was already gone. The mansion exploded with excitement. Family members rushed outside. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Everyone wanted to welcome Nigeria's newest billionaire home. Daniel stepped out of the car. At 28, he had become everything his father dreamed of. Confident, successful, respected. But before greeting anyone, his eyes searched the crowd. He smiled and asked, Where is Mama Grace? And there was silence. Vanessa forced a smile. She's not here. Daniel frowned. Then call her. Vanessa laughed nervously. She's just a maid. The staff can serve lunch. Daniel's smile disappeared. I didn't ask for the staff. I asked for Mama Grace. Mr. Adeyemi looked confused. Vanessa, where is Grace? She hesitated. Finally, she admitted it. I dismissed her this morning. The entire room went silent. Daniel could not believe what he had heard. You fired the woman who raised me on the day I came home? Vanessa tried to defend herself. She was only a servant. Daniel looked straight into her eyes. No, she was my mother when nobody else had time. Without saying another word, Daniel turned around and got back into his car, drove away, leaving every guest standing, stunned in silence. He searched everywhere. Her church, the local market, the neighborhood she used to visit. No one had seen her. Then an elderly security guard quietly said, she walked toward the old bus stop carrying one small bus. Daniel sped there immediately. Grace sat alone on a worn wooden bench. The small cardboard box rested beside her. 23 years reduced to one box. She stared at the road, wondering where life would take her next. A black luxury SUV stopped in front of her. She didn't even look. She assumed someone important was passing by. Then she heard a familiar voice. Mama Grace. She slowly lifted her head. Daniel stood there, the same little boy she had raised, now a grown man with tears running down his face. He knelt in front of her, held both her hands and said, I'm sorry I came home too late. Grace burst into tears. Daniel hugged her tightly. For a long moment, neither of them said a word. They simply cried. That evening, instead of returning to the mansion, Daniel took Grace to his new home, a beautiful house overlooking the city. He handed her a small box. Inside was a set of house keys. Grace looked confused. Daniel smiled through tears. You are never working as anyone's maid again. This house is yours. Everything I have today started with the woman who never stopped believing in me. A week later, Daniel hosted a charity gala. Nigeria's biggest business leaders attended. When it was time for his speech, everyone expected him to thank investors, business partners, and his father. Instead, Daniel walked off the stage, straight toward Grace, who was quietly seated at the back of the room. He helped her to her feet, held her hand, then faced the audience. This woman isn't my maid. She is the reason I became the man that I am. The entire ballroom rose to its feet. A standing ovation. Grace covered her face as tears rolled down her cheeks. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. Some people inherit wealth, others inherit love. And sometimes, love creates a legacy that money never could. Tell me honestly, if you were Daniel, what would you have done differently?